Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Solution Podcast. It's the solution. Yes. It's the solution, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for the truth. That's what we are here for. It's the Solution Podcast. Let's get to the solution. Let's work out these problems. Let's get to them. Let's tell them the truth. Let's stop the lies.
Let's give them the evidence.
The Solution Podcast. We got you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you stay tuned. I hope, comment. Hold on. Let me say that again. I hope you comment, like, and subscribe. We've got you. We're gonna tell you the truth. We're not gonna lie. And don't forget, ladies and gents, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
And we are live. Welcome to the Solution Podcast, guys. I have with me here today JM, and today we're going to be talking about Muslims are angry. They are very angry. And first and foremost, I just want to say, JM, how you doing?
I'm doing good, bro. How you doing?
Not too bad, brother. I just wanted to congratulate you on your great debate that took place 2 days ago between you and Dawood, right? Yeah, Dawood. You were victorious on that debate.
Thank you.
Amazing debate, guys. Go and watch that debate. That debate was something to watch. All right. So yeah, wanted to congratulate you on that first and foremost. But Muslims are angry, and today what we're going to be doing is reacting to that debate. But even more specifically, we're going to be reacting to a clip. Okay, I made a clip out of that debate, and Muslims got very upset about that clip, and specifically about the title of the thumbnail that I created, which I'm going to read out to you in a second. And I want to know why. Why Brother Dawood became so upset. By the way, I have sent the link. Here's the link, guys. Here's the link. Anyone can join. Feel free to join. I know you guys are listening. Feel free to join. All right. And challenge us on everything. We believe in having discussions and debates and challenging each other on our ideas. Okay, this is what we believe in here in the Solution Podcast. Whatever belief system you come from, religiously, ideologically, doesn't matter. We believe in challenging those belief systems, those ideas, and some people do get upset over it. This is just the truth. But I think it's important to do that in order to establish whether or not what we believe is the truth or not. And today we're going to be reacting to a sensitive topic, right, bro?
I mean, it is sensitive. I mean, we can have the discussion without it being disrespectful. But yes, it's sensitive because we're talking about some very, I'm sure everybody would agree that in this modern day and age, the union that we're referencing would be determined as abusive. I mean, this is even something many Muslims would acknowledge, because many Muslims now would not even entertain the idea of marrying a 6-year-old or would allow anyone in their family to engage in such a union. Although we do have people in parts of the world that are doing this, and we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. So yeah, I mean, it's a sensitive topic for everyone, it seems.
I'll be honest with you. I don't find I mean, it might be sensitive, but I think it's more sensitive to the Muslims. And let's just be clear about this. Why are Muslims upset? They were upset because of the thumbnail. Okay. My thumbnail, they didn't like my thumbnail. The title of my thumbnail, they didn't like it. And yeah, I'm gonna read it out. But I just want to say, what we're going to be talking about is Aisha and Mohammed's relationship. Okay, this is what the debate was about. Not what was the debate exactly about? Because of YouTube, we couldn't be specific about the topic, about the title of the topic, just because of all the red tape when it comes to YouTube.
Well, the debate was the marriage between Mohammed and Aisha moral? That was the actual title of the debate.
Yeah, that was the title of the debate, right?
Moral,
but
yeah.
More specifically, what we were basically discussing is whether or not Mohammed was a PDF.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to use that type of language because I knew it's too sensitive. Again, for YouTube, we have to be careful what words we're using. And also, just in the interest of being respectful, I didn't want to start with that. And if you noticed in the debate, I never really used that word until it was introduced. And then we kind of got into it because inevitably it was going to go down there. You can't avoid that word if we're talking about sexual behavior between someone of 8 years of age. We just cannot avoid, or 9 years of age, sorry. We cannot avoid that language coming into getting into the conversation. We just can't avoid it because in this because reference this modern day and age, that's what it references. So it's going to come up.
That's right. Who do we have up here? Speak up. I just added someone to the.
Okay, let's see who this is. I can't see who it is. I only see us two. Yeah, anyone that
Saron, Sauron. Is that you, Hazard?
see, that's what's that. Yeah.
All right, listen, guys. All right, the thumbnail title that got people upset that would upset was Aisha was 9 years old when the Prophet was sexually attracted to her. That's the title that would found offensive. Now, if the and this was the title of the clip, not the title of the actual debate. Now, if they would have called me and said privately, look, bro, I know you have a tendency to clip these things. Is it okay if you don't clip it? You don't make any clips and so on and so forth. I would have considered it. In good faith, because I do have respect for the brother. I would have considered it if he would have approached me before the debate, but that did not happen. All right. So I made a clip of it, and that's the clip that triggered Brother Dawood. And Dawood, if you're listening, you are more than welcome to join. Here's the link. Okay. I like to keep it all the way fair. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the reaction. All right. Remember what the title was. Aisha was 9 years old when the Prophet was sexually attracted to her. Now, I did not make that title up. This is what Brother Dawood said. This is what came out of Dawood's mouth. So let's just find out whether or not I'm correct or not, or I'm incorrect.
Before you do, first of all, hello everyone.
Yeah, please. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Was that what he was frustrated about?
Oh yeah, wasn't it?
Was that the full title?
Was that the full title? Hold on a second. Muslim admits his Prophet Muhammad was sexually attracted to a 9-year-old child.
So yeah, that part that you may have forgotten to add is Muslim admits.
Okay.
And I think that's the issue. It's the issue of presenting somebody being cornered rather than focusing on the topic. It becomes about the person arguing for a particular viewpoint rather than the actual viewpoint. And I think that's what's the issue with this type of clipping and such. It makes it more about the individual rather than the topic. Because people want to know about the topic, people want to talk about the topic, and this is what the benefit of having a podcast is. It's interfaith dialogue, right? Where people can have questions, views, and try to see each other's perspectives and be certain about what they're uncertain about, and then go on from there. I think when it becomes sort of clickbaity-ish and it becomes Muslim admits, it's down this is what's one of the reasons that Speaker's Corners is going down the drain. It really becomes about the opponent rather than the topic, and it's a race to the bottom rather than a race to knowledge.
Okay, can I make a point?
Go ahead.
Just quickly. So is it a provocative title? Yes, it is. Is it an incorrect statement? No, it isn't. So that's the issue to me. It may be provocative. I could agree with that. However, is he lying? Is Nelson lying in making the statement? Is he saying a falsehood? Is he creating a false, a false fallacy? No, he isn't. Essentially, that's what was suggested, or we could use the word admitted. But if we take everything into consideration as to what was said, and what Nelson went on to prove in the video, in regards to what was said, in regards to how a child was identified by Dawood, then he's correct in his assumption. His assertions are correct. Yes, it may be provocative, but he definitely wasn't lying.
As a counterpoint, would it be any less true if the title was less provocative?
No. So I'm conceding to the fact that it was a provocative title. I am conceding to that fact. I'm not saying it's wrong, by the way, because I'm just not going to say that because I'm not running it. I'm not running the channel. But yes, it was provocative. Was it incorrect? No, it wasn't.
Okay, so establishing the fact that the statement may not be true, but a path that would be less provocative. Sure.
Yeah.
In the path of taking a less provocative title wouldn't diminish the truth that's being presented. Wouldn't that answer the question of why some Muslims are angry? Because I wasn't really a part of the debate. So when you say Muslims are angry,
so my thing is this, Hassan. The moment you decide to step into the arena of public, discourse, where you're engaging on a YouTube channel, that the owner wants to grow, or you wouldn't have one in the first place. We all know that in order to get eyes on your channel, you do have to create provocative I wouldn't say content, but you have to create
catchy thumbnails, catchy titles.
Yes, this is part and parcel of YouTube culture.
Yes.
And whoever engages in that should know this by now. So yes, you could get upset, but my thing is, you stepped into the arena. You step into the arena where potentially you could be clipped with a provocative title, and he should have really been prepared for that. And this kind of outrage that he's displaying after the fact, it's not really acceptable because, as I said, he stepped into the arena. That comes with the territory.
I'll add one part, and then I'll obviously let Octavio jump in.
Yeah.
And carry on, obviously, with his presentation. But it's called the Solution Podcast. It's about, and it's even in the intro song, if I can remember it correctly. It's about the solution. It's essentially about getting to the truth,
right?
Rather than something that is more views and clicks orientated. It's about truth and the idea of pursuing what is true and having people that are willing to engage and have their arguments shot down. Now, that pursuit can be compromised when you're looking for an objective that is secondary or alternative to the truth. as you said yourself, views and try to get the channel to grow. Could it not be possible that when somebody sees the intro, sees the title, that they are made to assume that the truth will prevail rather than something that would be marketed as media content that may have an objective of more clicks, more views, which then can be leave a pretty nasty taste in someone's mouth when they put themselves forward to present the truth, but then they just end up being a part of a YouTube channel that maybe not about the solution, maybe more of a problem, which is one of the problems with YouTube as it stands now. More a pursuit of clicks and views and things of that nature.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've been pretty fair. You guys have been going back and forth, but I think it's important for us to look at the evidence, because what I'm being accused of is it says Muslim admit. So what we're going to find out from this clip is whether or not this particular Muslim admits or not admits to his Prophet Muhammad being sexually attracted to a 9-year-old child. Okay, to Aisha. So, well, let's have a look. Let's see what happens.
Wasn't answered.
Okay, sorry, remind me.
Yeah, when was Muhammad sexually attracted to Aisha? Was it age 6, 7, 8, or 9?
It was 9. He consummated the marriage at 9, not at 6.
So you don't think he was sexually attracted before 9?
Probably not. No.
What's your evidence to suggest that wouldn't be the case?
They didn't live together. She was played. She was how the responsibility placed upon her were totally different. She was still viewed as a member of the youth, and not as someone compatible for marriage at that time when she was 6.
So between the ages of 6 and 9, she moved from youth to, what would you consider her?
To a young woman, yeah.
Young woman at 9 years of age.
Around at that time, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what am I doing now, Nelson?
I'm just going to rewind it one more time, just for the people in the back, and because the thing is, I don't like to be accused of misrepresenting anyone, because I don't do that. But if you agree to a debate, and you understand the nature of what happens in a debate, if you understand the nature of the debate, then you understand what happens in a debate. Okay, and it's not my fault that you haven't prepared for it. I'm not responsible for what comes out of your mouth. But if you're going to be asked a direct question, and I'll play it again. Look.
Pause it 1 second.
Yeah,
I think the reason why it was such a damning kind of, why it really did present badly for Dawood is because, as you rightly highlighted, this wasn't a case of someone, me manipulating him or putting words in their mouths. Both times when he was asked a question, he was allowed to expound with no interruptions. The first time, I literally played the child one. The child one, what is a child? He had ample time to give an answer, and he gave the answer he wanted to give, which was that up to the age of 12, everyone is a child. This is his words. Then he went on to suggest that at 9, she was a young woman. So that's a clear contradiction there. I think everybody would understand that's a contradiction. You can't on the one hand say up to the age of 12, they're all children, and then say at the age of 9, one of them, a girl is a young woman. So again, this is, I think is the issue for him. Why he may be so upset is really because he can't accuse me of manipulation or putting words in his mouth of anything. This is what I think, anyway.
Yeah, but bro, even in a debate, you have to be aware of that. If that's what that person is trying to do, you also have to be aware of it. You can, if someone manages to get you to say something, that's your fault. You should have been prepared. That's no one else's fault but your fault. You're responsible for, if you agree to the debate, you're responsible for what comes out of your mouth. Shouts to Jacob Planner Proud. Welcome to Solution Podcast. Yep. 9 years old. So I'm just going to play that one more time because I don't like being accused falsely. I really don't. And he was asked a direct question and he gave the direct answer. He said yes. He heard the question and he said yes, and then he doubled down. So you can't falsely accuse people. If that's what came out of your mouth, that's what came out of your mouth. I'm not misrepresenting you at all. Hold on a second.
Okay, sorry, remind me.
Yeah, when was Mohamad sexually attracted to Aisha? Was it age 6, 7, 8, or 9?
It was 9. He consummated the marriage at 9, not at 6.
So you don't think he was sexually attracted before?
And I'm not faulting again. I played it again, and you heard it again. And I'm not faulting, him for the answer because that would have been the correct answer. I'm not faulting what's his name, Dawood for his answer. He gave the correct answer.
It's just Nelson, sorry, but I mean, just hearing it again. I mean, now I've really heard that part properly. Why would there even be any pushback, Hassan? When, as you can clearly hear, the question was, when did Mohamad find Aisha sexually attractive? The answer was 9. So the thumbnail saying Muslim admits Mohamad is sexually attracted at 9. Where's the issue? It literally is. This is
admitting to it. He's literally admitting to it. I'm not putting words in his mouth. I'm not manipulating the situation. He's admitting to it. And somehow I'm the bad guy. I don't get it. I'm misrepresenting him. I'm the one with the bad intention.
Hassan could clarify this for us.
It's no longer about the solution podcast. Is it the problems podcast? It's like, and I'm inviting the brother. He can come in and he can explain. No one's going to interrupt him. I don't believe in interrupting people. Let them speak. Let them so he can come in. I sent them the link as well privately, and the link is here. So he can come in and he can explain himself as well. But I've played it twice now. The question, I mean, come on. Hassan, go ahead.
Yeah, if I was in his position, would I be angry? Personally, I wouldn't, because I'm quite thick-skinned, and usually I don't assume the best of my interlocutors. Generally speaking, I assume the worst. I usually assume the worst of the people I'm speaking to. So yeah, I have low expectations in people, so that's me. But could I understand from a perspective? Sorry, 1 second. I'm being distracted. Give me 1 second.
Hassan, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I was just distracted by something.
So
yeah, so I would. So you've clipped me before. Is that right, Octavio?
Yeah, and the only thing you worried about was your haircut.
Yeah, I did. I should have got a haircut. Yeah, I look very different night and day, man. You know, get my nice haircut. You know, I'm looking good. You know, right? I'm feeling good.
You know
what I'm saying? But when I got my crusty hairline, it's not great. You know, so when I get the haircut done nicely, it's a beautiful thing. Anyway,
not everyone can be like me. Go on, bro.
But so yeah, so I assume the worst of my interlocutors. So when JM says when you enter into the realm, is that what you said? The sphere? What was the word he used?
I can't remember now.
The arena.
Word though. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be fair to JM and say when you enter into the arena, this is true. Don't assume everything and anything. And this is the internet. People can clip it and it's online forever. So, and I've said things that I'm not proud of on the podcast before. And thankfully I'm a nobody. And this channel doesn't get a lot of views, so it doesn't matter too much.
Until it does.
Until it does. And that'll be well gone by then. So that's one. Two, there's two other problems I can see arising. One, it's an 11-minute video, highly edited. Well, because not edited in a sense to present you as a person who's put words in somebody's mouth, which I don't think you have. It misses a lot of the context, because the original debate is 2 hours and 50 minutes, or 2 hours or something like this, a really long time.
No. The original debate is actually 1 hour and 20 minutes.
1 hour and 20 minutes. Okay, cool. So there's quite a bit of left of context to get greater understanding how one got to this point. And one maybe could say, oh, well, this, I didn't know about this part, I didn't know about that part. This would have helped me understand the video a lot better rather than clipping to the point where it's a general statement. That's problem number one. These clips generally don't present the truth in its purest form. They present it in the most palatable, clickbaity form. Again, it's not necessarily a lie, but not everything that is truthful is necessarily honest, right? It could be a lot of context is missed out. That's one. Two, it draws a crowd, a particular crowd. People like Jake Planner, the person who's commenting in the comment section. Proud kuffar. That's the Arabic word that he's got in his name at the end. Proud to be a disbeliever. This is just nonsense, even from a Christian perspective. A Christian is a believer in a particular faith. You're not proud to be a disbeliever. A Christian would say Islam is false, and I'm on truth. And a Muslim would say, yeah, that's you. Yeah, you're kuffar. Yeah, what a joke. Right? It draws a certain type of crowd that want to feed. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, and there's a lot of wisdom in the hadith. You should check it out when, instead of just looking for parts to misrepresent a religion. He said that hypocrites are like flies. Now, I have to get the hadith. I have to authenticate it, but I've heard it. Meaning they're always looking for the worst parts. A fly always looks for poo, really. It looks for a poo or a dead carcass or whatever. They look for if you see flies, generally there's no good there. And that's what these type of clickbaity sort of things, you need to research the word, Jake, what kuffar actually means. You can't be you just whatever, Jake. So so if you put me off track there. No, kuffar is not Islam, lol. I'm against child brides. Well, you should check out your Bible a little bit more. The age of consent is not really in detail, so and we can have that debate, we can have that discussion, or maybe we won't because I can't be bothered. But don't you stand on soft ground, Jake. Anyway, so yeah, it draws the wrong crowd, and this is one of my problems, generally speaking, with Speaker's Corner. It's people debating each other, and then you have a thumbnail: Christian gets destroyed, and then there's a teardrop: Christian atheist gets annihilated, and it just becomes a competition of who's going out of their way to humiliate their opponent. It's never a good thing. Is it true? Yeah, of course it's true. You could get annihilated. Is it true that you went to the clip and you quoted are you lying? No. But you could go to someone and say you are this, that, and the third. And there are ways of presenting a case that is the most charitable to your opponent, that is most Christian-like, I would argue, and most honorable, even if you're an atheist or you're not a Christian, for example. You could go ahead and present something in the more honorable way. And this is what I've found in the Solution Podcast, generally speaking. This has been my experience. I'll be honest with you, not to poo-poo on the podcast and call it the problem podcast. Generally speaking, if nobody is generally backhanded or undermining or trying to pursue the most uncharitable perspective on somebody else's opinion. It's generally a good discussion. This is why I'm here repeatedly. Generally, good discussions with good objectives. But somebody like our guest, our friend, I say our because I'm not a part of the podcast, but Daoud generally is a person who's honorable and honest and took up the debate as requested, right? And he may not have been prepared to be clipped in such a way, so it would have been more appropriate to say, hey, I'm going to clip you. This is going to clip. It may look like that's this and the other. And then that would have probably wouldn't have led to the falling out that occurred.
Okay. And I want to get to the rest of the reaction so that we can we can get to the truth here. Because I think what JM basically allowed Dawood to kind of fall on his own sword or to contradict himself, put it that way, by asking him questions. He just asked them random questions. So what we're going to do, we're just going to play a bit of the reaction because I want to get through it. And then we're going to go into other things. But just listen to this.
So my first question would be, what do you determine to be a child?
Okay, a child is someone. A child is actually divided into 3 periods.
I want everyone to pay attention to one thing. He's been Jam is doing here is asking him, what do you consider to be a child? Okay, what does Dawood consider to be a child? This is the question. All right, now let's hear what Dawood, how Dawood defines what a child is. And let's see who's really being disingenuous here.
So my first question would be, what do you determine to be a child?
Okay, a child is someone. A child is actually divided into 3 periods. Okay, so you have children who come under the age of toddlers, right? So this is infancy, okay, and then in the middle you have pre-birthing children. This is usually prior to their puberty, and then you have pre-adolescent children. This is from the age of 12 typically onwards to the age of 13. So they're all children, but they're all differently categorized.
Okay. So a man that has girlfriends around his own age, has been married, but has sex with a 9-year-old child, would you consider that person a PDF?
All right, guys, you heard it. You heard it, right? You heard it. Okay. A child he described it in 3 stages. And all these stages consists of what a child is. Okay. Infancy, prepubescent, and pubescent. Am I correct, Jam?
100% correct. I mean, he literally went into detail, a lot more detail than I was expecting, to be honest, because he actually broke down categories of children. He brought in, and he went all the way up to the age of 13.
Thank you.
Basically, he emphasized they are all children. He placed the emphasis. I didn't have to say a word. I would have, but I thought, he's emphasized that they were all children, so I don't need to say anything. And that's what happened.
And I need you to back me up on this, JM. Did JM put any words in his mouth? No. It was a question.
Yeah.
It was a simple question.
Yep.
Yeah. What is a child to you? He could have defined it in any way he wanted to. And he defined it in the way that he chose to define it, which
What was interesting is that I thought he was going to play the semantics game of saying, it's a prepubescent human or prepubescent person. I thought that's what I was expecting, that as the answer. And I would have obviously challenged that, because we're going to talk about the instance of a 5-year-old becoming pubescent. And I don't think anyone on earth would say that 5-year-old is still not a child. So I would have challenged that anyway. But he didn't even go there with it. He went for the definition I would have given of the fact that they're pubescent. To me, has no bearing on whether or not a child is a child or not, at some level. And he literally gave my answer. So pubescent and prepubescent, they're still under the category of children, and he was right. He's right to say it too.
Yeah, and if he had a special definition for what a child is that agrees with how Islam would see it, he could have also given us that definition.
And Christianity.
Yeah, regardless of he could have, he gave the definition that he gave, and he was asked a direct question: what is a child to you? So he could have given a definition that's more in line with Islam, but he decided to give a definition that's, to be honest, I agree with: infancy, prepubescent, and pubescent, up to 14 years of age, which I actually agree with 100%. Okay, so no one is putting words in no one's mouth here. No one is setting no one up. We are asking him, and he's speaking freely. Okay, right. So what he can't do, and then after he's asked that question, JM doesn't challenge it. JM goes to the next point. What is a PDF file, right? That's what JM does. Let's just
girlfriends around his own age, has been married.
hold on a second, guys. Where did I take it to?
It's his infancy, okay, and then in the middle you have pre.
Hold on, because
Let's
go through the time.
This is
the intro
usually
of the
prior to their puberty, and then you have pre-adolescent children. This is from the age of 12, typically onwards.
Sorry, guys, just bear with me. What I'm going to do is because there's an intro to the actual clip.
The age of 13. So it's they're all children, but they're all differently categorized.
Okay. So a man that has girlfriends around his own age, has been married, but has sex with a 9-year-old child, would you consider that person a PDF file?
He's definitely engaged in an act of PDF.
Okay.
But medically, he wouldn't have not been considered a pedophile in a classical sense.
But you would determine him to be one.
Yeah, I would say that he's definitely acted
Important.
upon, like he's engaged in PDF.
Yeah.
See, again,
Yeah,
that's the same. What does he mean in a classical sense? What does that mean?
I can tell you.
Okay, great.
No, hold on, guys. I don't want us to jump ahead. I don't want us to, because this is just the intro. Okay? Just hold on a second. Let's just get past the intro.
Yeah.
Yeah. When was Mohamad sexually attracted to Aisha? Was it age 6, 7, 8, or 9?
It was 9. He consummated the marriage at 9. Also, you did say that there was an implication that you made about that Aisha was forced. You have to bring evidence for that she was forced. Your logical.
Sorry.
And I'll be honest with you. Can I just make a statement there? Okay, this is the part we haven't discussed. We discussed the other part about the semantics around people, which I think Hassan is going to be going with, which I don't want to hear, to be honest. Again,
That's
but,
not my thing to say.
yeah, but I mean, come on. I mean, this is just I get triggered when I hear people making semantics.
It's not semantics. It's not what you think.
Well, it kind of is.
It's not what you think.
Because we've all established, and you've established that a pubescent child is still a child. Yes, you've established that, Hassan.
I'll let you speak.
So why do we keep bringing it up? The idea, it's not a pedophile because it's pubescent. When we all agree, a pubescent child is still a child. So I don't know why we keep going back to this idea that it's only a pedophile is only a pedophile if he has sex with a pre-pubescent child. That's a load of rubbish, and you know that. Anyway, let me just go back to this statement here. This is also, to me, was very disturbing. I'm telling him that an 8-year-old cannot consent to sex. He's asked me to provide evidence of that. And that is a part where I thought, when I reflected back on this debate, that was maybe the most disturbing part. Because what he's suggesting there, that an 8-year-old child consented to sex with a 54-year-old man. The reason why it triggered him for me to say that, because we haven't got to say the word here, but we all know what non-consensual sex is. There's a word for that. I just wanted to make that point.
You can go ahead, Hassan.
Okay, yeah. So two things. One is to respond to JM's question. JM said, "What?" I don't know why he said in a classical sense. Can I respond to that point?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So when he says, in my interpretation, because I could be wrong, it's by the definition. So a PDF is not a person who engages in the act. It's a person who is just merely attracted by a technical definition. To act upon it is considered something else.
Okay, can I ask you a question on that? Just at that point.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So hold on. So a PDF is just someone who's attracted.
Yes, to minors. And
where is that the sum total of what where has it ever been established at the sum total of what a PDF file is? When? Where and when?
How do you mean? Why? So where does that classical definition come from? You mean?
No, I mean, are you saying that's the only recognized that has been the only recognized definition of what a PDF is, or was at one point?
Oh, okay. So if you ask most people, just to give you an example of what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
or what I'm trying to present, is if you ask most people, where is the capital of Australia? Most people will say Sydney,
Right.
but we all know it's Canberra. It's not Sydney.
Okay.
It's just that in general colloquial understanding, or amongst the general population,
Yeah.
it's understood that Sydney is the capital of Australia. You think Australia, you think capital Sydney.
Okay.
It's the same thing with PDF file. You
Right.
think the term means somebody acting upon it, because why would somebody have that attraction and then not act upon it?
Yeah.
Because most people who have that attraction act upon it. Therefore, that's the label given to them. But that's a medical definition. Now, the correct definition of the person who acts upon it is a child abuser.
I don't know where you're getting this stuff from, if I'm honest, Hassan. I've never heard
I'll
any
tell
of
you
it.
what. I'll tell you what.
And I've worked in the field, and I don't know what you're talking about, if I'm honest. And this is someone that has worked in the field of social services for over 25 years. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. So, okay, Fred, this is what I've read. So I could be wrong. But this is how I'm interpreting what he's saying. So when he says, in the classical sense, I could be wrong as well, obviously. Maybe the capital is Sydney. I could be wrong as well. I'm not going to say that I am aware of what the fact is. I'm just interpreting what he's saying. And this is the interpretation I have, because once you look at the definition, it's not the person acting upon it, it's the person who just has the attraction. Now, having said that, this may be the problem in this debate, in how it all came about. It was a person coming from purely technical definitions. That's why the question, can you define what a child is, didn't just come up once, as far as you remember, or as far as I can remember. It came up a few times. That's why the debate was quite a while and got heated at some points, and both parties got frustrated, because the same question would be repeated. Well, what is a child? Well, what do you define as a child? It's not this short. There was a miscommunication between you, the person asking the question, and the person presenting it, because it wasn't, in terms of the backstory behind this, it wasn't two people coming together who met online. One person is a debater, another person is a debater. It was a group chat, and we had plenty of time talking to each other, and we got a bit frustrated at some points. And by the time the debate came, people on their own guard. One assumed one is the defending the. That's why Dawood had to make very clear. I'm not defending PDF files. I'm just having a discussion, debate on the topic. Why I see Prophet Muhammad not defining as not being defined as one, and the other person saying, well, everything we've presented and discussions we've already had would come to that conclusion. So what's going on here? And it's mixed emotions and frustrations on a topic that's, even now when I speak, just before I spoke, you already got frustrated. You said, I don't want to hear it because I've heard you talk repeatedly about it. Because it's this, you get my point now.
Yeah, I get your point.
Second, just one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Literally 2 seconds. These atomic bombs in the video does add a certain level of entertainment to the topic. And it is part of YouTube. It is part of the YouTube culture to add humorous bits here and there. As you can understand, somebody who takes a topic quite seriously and takes to heart any mockery of such an important topic, I guess, you can understand how it can add to somebody's frustration. But I'm just going to add that in there.
All right. I'll let Nelson respond to that in a minute. I'm sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I wanted to make this point there, that this idea that the classical definition of pedophilia is limited to just feeling is completely false. I just want to make that clear. In any and all definitions of pedophilia, classic or otherwise, yes, it references a feeling, but also the act. It's never been the case that pedophilia has just been described as just a feeling. So again, that's misinterpreted, that's misrepresenting what the actual frame. And I understand why he felt the need to do that, because he has to defend his position. But his position is wrong. If he's just trying, if he's given the impression that the meaning of pedophile is just about a man's feelings towards young children, well, it's not. It's never been just about that. It's also been about acting on it. I just want to make that point.
Yes, the classical definition. When he talks about the classical definition, it says here this includes. Hold on a second.
Can you put it on the screen?
It can also. No, I'm sorry. I'm reading it from my phone. It can also refer to something that is considered a standard or established form within a particular field, like classical ballet or classical music. In the classical sense, generally refers to something being understood or defined according to the principal styles or characteristics of ancient Greece and Rome, particularly in the areas of art, literature, architecture, and philosophy. And then it goes on to say it can also refer to something that is considered a standard or established form within a particular field. So the thing is, but the truth is he goes on to give the definition of because JM asked him directly. He said, "Well, what is a PDF?" And he goes and he gives the definition. And I'm sorry, that definition doesn't help him either. So Hassan mentioned the bombs and all of that. I'm a Christian. I'm not a Muslim. Okay, I don't agree with the Muhammad having that relationship with Aisha. So when you see that bomb, that's just something that reflects how I feel about it because it's the truth, and we have to tell the truth that that was not right. So that
Could I,
bomb is basically me feeling happy about it, and that's quite entertaining.
can I
Um,
quickly just reference back to the to this classic definition thing again? This is the point. I forgot to make this quick point. So even, and this is why, because I knew that it was Dawud was using just this definition regarding feelings towards a child being enough. That is what the requirement is, to label someone a PDF file. Because I knew he was hanging on that. If you notice what I questioned him with after, I said, when was Prophet Muhammad sexually attracted to Aisha? So I knew where he was going. So I said, well, let's focus on the attraction part then. I don't know if I think Nelson caught that as well.
yeah,
I
I
said,
call
okay, let's focus on the attraction. Since you want to say that PDF file is only about attraction, let's focus on the attraction. And unfortunately, he established that the attraction was there at 9. And he also established that in his definition, 9 is still under childhood. This is why I say he made the argument that Muhammad was a PDF file. I didn't. He made the argument by establishing the fact of what a child is, then trying to suggest it was about feelings, then admitting, I guess you could say, that the union was consummated through sexual attraction to a 9-year-old.
Okay.
So I mean, again, what? Nothing. I didn't. This is all his own understanding, logic, and words.
So why am I unfairly being blamed here? I don't get it. Hold on, let's continue.
Argument I suppose that you're making here is that she was a child, and because she was a child, she had no was forced. Your legal, your logical argument I suppose that you're making here is that she was a child, and because she was a child, she had no way to consent. I'm gonna have to find evidence for that, because we're gonna have to define what a child is. You know, that's where we're gonna have to go back first. The definition of a child.
And the idea that you asked me what a child is, if you don't know what a child is in this day and age, how could you even have a debate if you don't? If you can't accept what a child is?
No.
We know what a child is, and you know what a child is.
No, I don't.
So this idea that you don't know what a child is deflection. You know what a child is, and you know very well a child cannot consent to marriage and cannot consent to sex. They don't have the language or concept or understanding to know what these things are to consent to it. You read in the hadith that she was playing with dolls. If you go back a bit,
Sorry, guys.
If you go back about 10, 15 seconds, listen to what he says when I say when I say you know what a child is. Listen to what he says. He kind of murmurs it.
It's
but listen carefully.
deflection. You know what a child is, and you know very well a child cannot consent to marriage and cannot consent to sex. They don't have the language or concept or understanding to know what these things are to consent to it.
Yeah, I caught that one as well. That's why I put it high up because
let's go back a bit more. It's very important to hear what he says.
If you don't know what a child is in this day and age, how could you even have a debate if you don't? If you can't accept what a child is?
No.
We know what a child is, and you know what a child is.
No, I don't.
So this idea that you don't know what a child is.
He said, "No, I don't."
I don't.
Where he went on to define a child.
Then he goes on to define. Yeah, come on. No, I don't. No, I don't.
No,
I don't know
I
what
don't.
child.
But then he went on to go into quite a lot of detail to then describe a child. Hassan, are you there? Who won this debate?
Hassan, you still there? I think he's going for a nap. Hassan?
I'm still here. I mean, you don't need to. You don't. He asked me, "You're still here?"
Oh, sorry.
Thinking. You don't. You need to ad lib in onto this. So, who won the debate? It's a good question.
Long pause.
You just heard that what we just exposed it, yeah? You heard the man say.
I'm not judging based on the clip, though. I'm judging by the whole.
All right.
How would you like me to answer? Yeah.
Truthfully, that's all we want here is the truth. Nothing but the truth.
Okay. Do you think I'll speak the truth?
If you can handle the truth, I know you're a film buff, so I know it. I know where I got that from.
Yeah. Tom Cruise is just
there you go.
Jack Nicholson. You can't handle the truth.
Right.
So what's the truth, Hassan?
Well, first of all, I just like to establish a few things. One, am I one to whimper away from telling the truth?
No, you know what? I give this to Hassan, and I'm gonna be. This is me being real. You know, Hassan is actually, ironically, the most forthright Muslim in the group because he doesn't shy away. Obviously, he did the debate, but while I would say with Hassan, he trolls a bit when he gets caught out. Fair enough, but he will acknowledge, even if it's grudgingly, when someone's kind of messed up. Let's just say that, and he'll do it by not answering or deflecting, but he won't run away. That's the point I'm making. He won't run away. Like even the fact that he's here now is quite, he's here now.
Amazing. Yeah,
you got to give him credit for just being here.
Most Muslims would be scared to even come in.
Right. You said he said the most forthright Muslim in the group. There's only one left. So I don't know.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. We've had Shogun Assassin. He left.
Yeah.
And then we had the other guy, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Hassan, you asked the question. Yeah.
Yeah. So generally, before I answer, I'm a genuinely very honest and upright person of great character and.
Okay. Don't go overboard.
No, I'm just like making clear who I am. Of great character, great integrity, knows his place as well, has the humility and intelligence to know his place, to speak great character to tell the truth and be amongst people who oppose his religion and make it very clear how much they despise it, but will stand and defend the truth. And I'm genuinely here to defend Daoud, right? I respect him for maybe I guess taking up the debate. I wouldn't take up the debate myself because it's quite a difficult one, but you can't just avoid it really but I would definitely avoid it on camera because you can get clickbaited and things like this and not have a chance to represent yourself, I guess.
So who won the debate?
So who won the debate? I would say JM.
Okay, well, round of applause. We need to round.
And I'll tell you why. And I'm not saying it because of praise and things like that. I'm not. And I'm not saying because I'm here on the podcast. I would say because Brother Daoud was generally frustrated before he came into the debate. I think he made some excellent points, and he used a debate methodology that would probably work at university, or this high-end debating methodology of you must make it clear what a child is and things like this. And to be fair, to a certain amount, JM was a bit pearl clutchy, and even I think you said even refer to yourself as being triggered, which is best to avoid when having a debate. But I think Brother Daoud's frustration with the whole back and forth that we had before we got into it, he even mentioned himself, it was a WhatsApp group that led us here, would put him in a position where he was a bit more angry at times. But I respect him for taking up the discussion. The only reason JM won, because JM was very precise with his questions and looped back to them and was willing to adapt to the moment. So I think he even said PDF file if you want to take the classical definition, which is the classical definition. I've just found it online on the National Institute of Health. So there is an argument that is a definition that attraction is the only component as a part of being a PDF. But JM did really evolve with his arguments and roll with the punches, and was quite committed to getting us to a specific point, even though it may have not been the what he exactly wanted. It got the results that he wanted. Brother Daoud got a bit frustrated, which allowed him to fall into the traps that you are presenting. To be fair, I would say I would refer to them as traps. You may refer to them as something of a more tactical, deductive questions, or what's the word? There's a word for this. When you're a detective, you just line of questioning. Yeah, that's it. Your line of questioning. He may have missed certain points which I guess is what led to the clip being made. So, yeah, that's my opinion on that.
And then I think it's a great clip as well. And I think it's a great clip. Well done. Well done for being truthful. We do appreciate that because we're all about truth here. Just so let me just continue.
I'll say this much.
Reflection.
I'm sorry, Hassan. I think you've said enough.
Okay.
Sorry, did you have anything else to add?
I think if I had this debate, I would have won.
Okay, let's continue.
I'll tell you why.
You know what a child.
Hello, Hassan.
Yeah. And let me just say, I'll tell you why. Because I wouldn't have been as knowledgeable as Daoud, that's for sure, or JM. Both of them know their stuff. But I wouldn't have lost my temper, and I would have just run out the clock. I think I would have.
Oh, so you'd have just used a time wasting. That's
yes.
But that's not winning the debate, though.
So Hassan, am I correct in saying that the way Daoud dealt with me was wrong?
Dealt with you? What, in a personal sense? I wouldn't want to comment on that. For a person to request the title to be changed, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Because obviously he's not the only one that's been that's requested a title.
What if the title is correct? What if there's nothing wrong with the title, and the title is accurate, and it's not misrepresenting anything?
Let's say you had a debate. Actually, I won't say that. But I'll say this much. If somebody says, I don't like the title, do you mind changing it? I think you would accommodate it. And I think you even said at the beginning of this episode, you said, if somebody called me and on the side and say, bro, I don't like this, and I don't like, do you mind changing it? And ask respect.
Well, it happened because it happened with me and Nelson. Nelson and I, that happened, and Nelson was very accommodating. So yeah, Nelson would change it. Would change it.
So
absolutely.
There you go. It answers exactly. Your question. It's not fair. It's not unfair for him to say, "Can you change your title, please?"
Yeah, but it's unfair for him to cut ties. It's unfair for him to leave the group. It's unfair for him to say, "I know you would do this." It's unfair for him to say, "Oh, you make." It's unfair for him not to have the conversation. It's unfair for him to get angry because, first of all, if he had said to me from the beginning, let's say before we had the debate, that listen, look, Octavia, I know you have a podcast and you like to do clips after doing lives and all of that type of stuff, especially with regards to Islam and some. Okay, is it all right if you don't do any clips of me? And blah, blah. I would have accommodated that. I would have accommodated many other things. if he had, but he never did that. He never came to me first. He never said any of that. He's just decided to treat me as if as someone who was trying to do him wrong, and I did not appreciate that, because my intentions are not to do that. And the only reason why we're reacting to this is just to show that I did not misrepresent him or JM in the wrong way at all. Okay, that's the only reason. And if anyone thinks I've done that, go and watch the full debate and you will see it. All right, that's all I'm saying. But let's continue. Let's crack on.
This, and you know very well a child cannot consent to marriage and cannot consent to sex. They don't have the language or concept or understanding to know what these things are to consent to it. You read in the hadith that she was playing with dolls. That was some example of her experiences on earth, playing as a child. How is a child playing with dolls, understanding the concept, the intricacies of marriage, and what her marriage duties are at 6 years of age, and then consummating it at 9? You think she knew that she was having sex? What concept would she have had about what sex is and the ramifications of sex? According to the hadith, she may not have even had a puberty.
You mentioned that there are the studies that you mentioned, and by the way, I'm still waiting for your definition of what a child is. You said, yeah, you have to answer that question.
I can answer it right now if you want.
Okay, well, yeah, you had 1 minute left.
A child below puberty, a human being below the age of puberty.
Okay.
So my first question would be, what do you consider to be a child?
All right, hold on.
Okay, a child.
So, ironically, my definition was more in line with his position and his own definition was, which I find very interesting.
Let's continue.
So was that a miss? That what did you say?
My definition was more in line with what the average Muslim would suggest than his own definition.
Oh, I wasn't listening. What was his definition?
My definition was a child before puberty. I use that as a definition of what a child is. At that point, I use it as a different definition.
Did you change your definition as time went on?
No, I said that because of his definition.
So you agreed with his definition?
I agreed with his definition, but I gave the definition that a Muslim would agree with.
So you agree with the Muslims?
Both. Both is correct.
Fair enough. So maybe you're arguing on the behalf of Prophet Muhammad not being a PDF file?
No.
We're going to get to that, guys. We're going to get to that. All right, let's continue.
Clip that.
Is someone, or it's a child is actually divided into 3 periods. Okay, so you have children who come under the age of toddlers, right? So this is infancy, okay, and then in the middle you have pre-birthing children. This is usually prior to their puberty. And then you have pre-adolescent children. This is from the age of 12, typically onwards to the age of 13. So they're all children, but they're all differently categorized.
Okay. What is pedo? I can't use the word pedophile. I think that's what it is. PDF. Sorry,
PDF.
PDF. Sorry.
Yeah.
What is that?
So I have a definition here that I go by, and it's very similar to what I was saying early on. So PDF is a paraphilia, meaning it's a disorder, and this is in recent versions formerly diagnosed coding system, which I mentioned before, DSM-5 and ICD-11. PDF is distinguished from a pedophilic disorder. So it's defined by a pattern of arousal accompanied by either subjective distress or interpersonal difficulty of having acting upon this arousal, and it's also a persistent urge that exclusively focuses on pre-birthing children. If you are, for example, someone who's attracted to toddlers, you have a different term for that. And if you're attracted to people who are 12 and 11 and 13, you have a different term for that either. So being a PDF, it's again, it's a social term that we use, but if you medically look at it and according to research, it becomes much more complicated.
So a man that has girlfriends around his own age, has been married, but has sex with a 9-year-old child, would you consider that person a PDF file?
He's definitely engaged in an act of PDF.
Okay.
But medically, he wouldn't have not been considered a pedophile in a classical sense.
But you would determine him to be one.
Yeah, I would say that he's definitely acted upon, like he's engaged in PDF activity. Yeah.
And you also mentioned you have.
Listen to what you just said here. But you would call him one, right? And he said yes. Yeah, he has engaged in PDF behavior. Guys,
Yeah. What's
he's
up?
admitted it.
Based on what I've seen, I couldn't come to that conclusion.
Can you explain why?
Because a part of me would be thinking, I'd click on the channel and I would see the full live, because there is a full live. And I would think, well, hold on. What could he have said as a counter argument? Because why put the effort into debating and not having a counter argument? And maybe there is a counter argument.
Maybe there is a counter argument. All right,
Yeah.
let's continue, because I thought that was pretty clear. You know, a man that engages in sexual behavior with, you know, you'd consider that PDF, and he said yes, that's PDF behavior. You know, that engages in sexual behavior with a 9 years old girl. Come on, guys.
You have to have a desire for a child.
A persistent desire, yeah, a persistent desire.
So persistent desire would be a desire that you would consummate. Would that be considered a consistent desire?
Persistent desire means that it's because it's classified as a disorder. It means you almost can't help yourself, and it is something you keep going back to over and over again.
Okay. So by the definition we used, I'm sure you would agree that Mohamad will fall into the category of a PD. That word
PDF.
PDF. By the criteria you've used, we've established that it could be someone that had relationships with older women. We've established it could be someone that also would have sex with someone around the ages of 8, maybe 9. We've established that. And we've also established something that will be continuous. So Mohamad continually had sex with Aisha. So
well, she wasn't 9 years old for like 20 years.
Yeah, but he continued having sex from the age of 9.
We pause it.
So also her, but also her.
So again, a damning statement right there. She wasn't 9 years old for 20 years. If there was nothing wrong with having sex with a 9-year-old, why would he qualify it like that?
Yep.
Hassan?
Yeah.
If there's nothing wrong with having sex with a 9-year-old, why would he qualify it by saying she wasn't 9 years old for 20 years? What difference would it make?
Oh,
if he genuinely believed that she was eligible at 9, a young woman, as he stated, if that was his position, why would he make a qualifier that she wasn't 9 years old for 20 years? Why are you saying that?
Yeah, so I think it loops back to the definition that he was giving, which is a habitual pursuit of children, which is one of the characteristics. Because the argument being made is, again, from a classical sense, from a medical definition or from the definitions used by medical staff or whatever. So it's to point out that it's not the obsession with children that is led to this union, but it could be more cultural context.
Well, I think you're missing
which is the overarching argument. Huh?
I think you're missing the point.
I think I am, yeah.
You are, yeah. The point is, he's acknowledging something here by saying she wasn't at nine years old for 20 years. What is he acknowledging in regards to the age and her
She was 9?
And her status? In terms of child or adult? What is he acknowledging?
I'd have to watch the full context.
Wait, you just heard it.
You want to repeat it? Okay.
You just heard the statement. She wasn't
She
wasn't 9 for 20 years. He's making a statement there. So what is he saying with regards to her age? What is her state? According to him, what is her status?
Can you present to me how you've interpreted it?
No, I want you to tell me how you interpret that statement.
I kind of zoned out, to be honest with you.
Okay, I mean,
yeah, we're gonna get a lot of that from Facebook. But let's just continue. Let's continue. I'll just run a few seconds
what
back.
do you take from it, Nelson?
Huh?
What do you think he was inferring by saying she wasn't 9 for 20 years?
What was he inferring? Hold on, let's listen. Let's listen back. Let's listen back again. Let's listen
back. Yeah. Maybe 9. We've established that, and we've also established something that will be continuous. So continually, Mohammed continually had sex with Aisha. So
well, she wasn't 9 years old for like 20 years.
Yeah, but he continued having sex.
Okay. so basically, JM here is establishing what has been agreed upon, basically. And then he turns around and he says, you mentioned it, that it's continuous, right? And then he says, well, it didn't go on. He's basically admitting to the fact that yes, something wrong has happened, but that whatever wrong has happened hasn't continued for 20 years.
Right. That's it. Perfect.
So, which I found quite nonsensical because it's so, first of all, it's so irrelevant. But all that ended up happening is he ended up exposing himself.
Right, he cut himself.
Yeah, he literally, he cut himself. Because I was thinking to myself, you've just acknowledged the fact that whatever happened was wrong, and what you were trying to qualify is, but it didn't happen forever for 20 years. It only happened.
You would never say that if you had nothing, if you had no issue with what he was doing, if it was completely above board and natural and normal, you would never make that qualifier.
Yeah, ever. And the fact, sorry, Hassan, can I just finish? Yeah, and the fact that he did, and I found it quite nonsensical because I was thinking to myself, first you're acknowledging that it happened. If it has happened, that this idea of continuity, okay, or something happening continuously is, I don't want to come off crude or nothing, but when you have sex with your wife or whatever, woman, you're gonna have it loads of times. It's so during the I mean, unless I don't think the hadith covered this, but during her first, the first year of marriage, I'm sure I hate to even think about that, but I'm sure they had sex loads of times during that time. So it was continuous. It is continuous in nature. He kept going back. It was repetitive. He kept going back to it and going back to it. It is continuous. So I'm sorry to say it's such a nonsensical point to even bring up. Sorry, Hassan, you had something to say.
Yeah, it's just I picked up on something that you said. You said he exposed himself. This goes back to the issue of this discussion. It's about the person debating rather than the discussion or the actual points or whatever. It targets more Daoud than it does the topic, and that's what's maybe unnecessary and can leave a bitter taste in somebody's mouth rather than focusing on the point, because there are some difficult topics that I would never engage in, and it could be the topic's difficult, but for one, the topic would be difficult. Two, I wouldn't want to be the center focus of the topic. Like, oh, you supporting this, yeah? Oh, you one of those guys, yeah? With the current social climate and what have you. People, painting you to be out something that you're not, when you're really just trying to present your interpretation of this contemporary difficult how can I say a topic that's difficult to grapple with in current circumstances in the current era, and still hold on to your faith for some, not for me, but for some. So you can imagine how you could empathize and you could see the perspective of somebody else where it's I'm sincerely trying to argue this point. You sincerely want to know. Can we come together and focus on the topic rather than focusing on each other? And I think things like, oh, he exposed himself there, or he cut himself there, or something like this. It's like I don't want to critique Daoud. Like he's gracious enough to come on. He's just one human being. I don't mind hearing the topic being debated or discussed by what's the word, good faith debaters and interlocutors. Yes, but I don't want to hear you're this and you're that and this. Oh, he did this and he did that. Yeah.
And Hassan, and Nelson, you could tell me if you want me, if you don't want to discuss this right now or whatever. Just a quick question, but if you want to delay it, you can.
No, go ahead. Bro.
I was gonna say, is there any, and this is to Hassan, is there any scope for a Muslim to say, you know, I'm uncomfortable with this situation, and I think it was wrong. However, I'm not going to renounce my faith. I still consider myself to be a Muslim. I am sure that there are Muslims around that have this position. Am I correct in this view?
Oh no! So in terms of having difficulty grappling with the aspect of the faith?
No, aspect of that particular incident.
Oh well, one or because it depends on case by case basis.
No, the Prophet having sex with the Aisha. This is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Are there Muslims that find that problematic?
Yeah.
Even would say that was wrong, and are still active Muslims and are accepted as being active Muslims by the rest of the Muslim community.
I don't know about the community because community is very subjective. There's certain things that the community accepts that they shouldn't, and there's certain things that they reject that they shouldn't. So the community, I would say, and you know what Octavio knows very well, and it's on the podcast as well. My critiques of the Muslim community in the UK, especially, that certain things that we accept wholeheartedly that we shouldn't, and there's certain things we reject wholeheartedly that we shouldn't, because we live in a post-colonial time and we decide what culture decides and what. But that's a whole other tangent. Now, I think from a theological perspective, is that what you're asking?
Oh yeah, but then I just had a terrible thought just then that we should. I'm actually going to take because I realized that maybe not, because we have a terrible situation that I think is going to come up soon where in Tehran, where you had an 8-year-old girl that was R-worded to death.
Yemen.
And I don't know if I heard any condemnation from any other Muslim nation or individuals. So
Yemen. It was Yemen.
Okay, so where's the condemnation from other Muslims around about?
Let's get through this first. Let's do that.
Let's do that.
But because the figure, and let me just answer what Hassan accused me of. Hassan, I wasn't trying to personally attack. Maybe it's just the way I speak, and if that caused any offense, I do apologize. And the only reason why I say he exposed himself, because I believe that Brother Dawood had an intention when he came to debate. Okay, he had an intention, and his intention was to prove that your Prophet Muhammad is not a PDF. That was his intention, and because I believe that, and remember, he didn't enter a discussion; he entered into a debate. Okay, so in a sense, war. All right, so it's a debate that you're going to clash. You're gonna have an intention, and I believe that the intention to justify what I consider to be PDF Ilya. I think that's the wrong intention to have. So that's why I said, you know what? Look, that's why I use that. I use that language. It wasn't to necessarily attack him, but when you're in debate mode, like, oh, he slipped up there. He slipped up. Why? Because he has an intention. He came into the intention. And anyone who tries to defend, a 54-year-old Muslim or a 9-year-old girl and tries to, and contradicts himself all over the place, and I don't believe, because I'll be honest with you, he didn't make any arguments that I felt actually helped me understand. Oh, okay, I can see why, thing is not a PDF. I can see why he was just contradicting himself all over the place, and that's not to attack the brother personally. It's just a matter of fact. It's just what happened in the debate. That's it. He was contradicting himself, and his intention It's like instead of him putting his hands up and saying, "Oh, I can't defend this anymore. I'm just contradicting myself. Let me just, say, you know what, you're right." But he doesn't do that, and he carries on, and he still wants to prove that the thing is not a PDF. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to buy that. That's not to. So his intention to me is odds. It's not, you know what I mean. So that's the reason why I use the language that I used. It's not to attack him personally. If you don't have nothing to say, bro, I'm just going to continue with the video.
Oh, I don't know. I had something to say, but it was in response to what JM was
Yeah.
saying.
Let's
From the age of 9. So all through her 9, but all through her year, all through her 9, yeah, all through her 9-year-old. While she was 9, he continually had sex with her. Yeah, it makes sense to establish that she was his wife after all. So under the criteria that you've established, how can you not? Why is it? Why would I be considered wrong for identifying Mohammed as a PDF file? Under the criteria that we both established as being quite acceptable in identifying a PDF file, we also can establish that he, with his actions, correspond to an example of PDF file. So can you explain why I'm wrong now for identifying him as one?
What was the question again, please?
So we've established what a PDF file is. We had some criteria that we both agreed on. The fact that they could have relationships with older women, the fact that they would be also engaging in sex with a child or a 8 or 9-year-old, and also the persistent sexual acts with an 8 or 9-year-old. We've established that as being a criteria for someone that we would both identify the PDF file. Why would I be wrong for identifying Mohammed as a PDF file is that first question. The second question is, at what age do you think Mohammed had the sexual attraction to Aisha? Was it 6, 7, 8, or 9?
Okay, so first of all, we did read that one of the definitions is that there's a persistent urge, almost uncontrollable urge to wanting to have intercourse with children. As we know, the Prophet Muhammad SAW was not married to another 9-year-old. We know that he never had, it's not mentioned anywhere that he had intercourse with any more 9-year-old at his time, even though people didn't consider it a bad thing. So to say that he was somehow persistently engaged in this act, or he was like he particularly was attracted to the age or someone that was 9 years old, it's not being proven by any given context or history that we have, because the Prophet in fact had multiplier women, and the majority of them were actually around his age.
I think it's important to note that my second question wasn't answered.
Okay, sorry, remind me.
Yeah, when was Mohammed sexually attracted to Aisha? Was it age 6, 7, 8, or 9?
It was 9. He consummated the marriage at 9, not at 6.
So you don't think he was sexually attracted before 9?
Probably not. No.
What's your evidence to suggest that wouldn't be the case?
They didn't live together. She was played. She was how the responsibility placed upon her were totally different. She was still viewed as a member of the youth, and not as someone compatible for marriage at that time when she was 6.
So between the ages of 6 and 9, she moved from youth to, what would you consider her?
To a young woman, yeah.
A young woman at 9 years of age.
Around at that time, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what am I doing now, Nelson? What I did is I gave him a scenario. I said a married man that has many relationships with women old around his age, he then engages in one act of sex with a child. Is he a PDF file? What was that answer? Yes, he is.
Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, baby. Sorry.
Good editing there.
I thought I was on mute. Sorry. Did you guys hear that? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, good editing. Good editing.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Thank you. And yes,
There's a couple of things that I want to highlight again. Just listening back. Yeah, actually, no, I won't. I think I've covered it already. So we can move on to maybe.
Yeah, we can move on. Yeah. So I mean to what? I'm joking.
So I just wanted to comment on something JM was about to ask, but he didn't get to flesh out his question, which is this case of an 8-year-old girl being in a marriage with him.
Yeah, can we get to it first?
Let's bring up on the screen, Nelson.
Yeah, I'll bring it up on the screen now, and we can just cover it now. And then Hassan can. So I apologize Hassan for cutting you off.
So you can just click my thing.
Sorry, what was that, Hassan?
I've already got the link. So if you want to click on,
you've already got the link. Oh, I see. Because I've got it as well here. So.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
You want to use your one?
Yeah, it's the same thing, isn't it? Yeah. So this is the Guardian, a reputable newspaper. Yeah, go ahead.
Reputable newspaper. So yeah, in response to JM's question, which was there condemnation of this occurrence, which is a girl in Yemen who was a child bride who died at the wedding night. Was there condemnation of this? Yes. You can see the women protesting there asking for reform. Did this go to Parliament? Yes. That the age should be changed from a lower age to a higher age, meaning late teens and such. Yes, but obviously the debates in Parliament stalled because of other issues.
What Parliament are you talking about?
Yemen.
So where are the imams out here?
Yes, there were imams that were condemning it as well.
Where?
I'll find it for you right now. Oh shit. Sure.
So the imams were condemned.
Of course. Why would the death of a child not be condemned? And if it could be avoided.
So can I make a point? If she didn't die, would they still condemn the marriage?
Well, would they have known?
Well,
because the debate ended in Parliament because it started in late 2010 or something like this to change the age from whatever to a vague age to about 18 or I think 17. Like this.
Okay, but if she didn't die,
yeah,
no one would have condemned the marriage.
No, do you know why?
Yeah, go ahead, James.
Okay. So, in Yemen, the debate, as I was saying, was held up in Parliament to change the age from a vague age to late teens as such, but it was stalled in 2011. Do you want to know why it was stalled in 2011? Do you want to take a guess?
Yeah.
So okay.
Do you want to take a guess or?
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say let's just read the article.
Okay. We can read the article, but let me just finish my point. Because the article is a stagnant point. It points out to what occurred. It doesn't focus on the aftermath. The war started in Yemen because Saudi Arabia and Iran started funding the Houthis, which overthrew the current government, and then Saudi Arabia was threatened by this, and the country was bombed, and it led to one of the greatest humanitarian crises of the modern era. Before that, Yemen was by far the poorest Arab country in the region. Now, if she wasn't to die, there would not have been a case for it to be condemned, not because it's the cultural norm, but because Yemen is an extremely poor country. And this often occurs in very poor countries, whether they be Islamic or not Islamic.
What occurs?
Child marriage.
Where, for example?
I'll give you a list of countries, but it would generally be countries that are very underdeveloped. Where? Not necessarily as young as 8 years old, but could be 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old. Very young. Not necessarily, but it could be. But the distinction between 8 and 12 is almost minimal. And if one goes down that path of 12 is far more reasonable than 8, well, then what is the topic being discussed here? Is there a clear line of what when one becomes a PDF file, or is there not a clear line when one becomes a PDF file? And if there is not a clear line, it really becomes subjective, which is what the whole debate was about.
This is why I kind of moved to this the topic of R word,
Yes.
because okay, you can answer this question maybe. I don't know if you want to answer.
I probably don't.
Yeah. Can you think of any incidents or any incident when an 8-year-old could consent to sex?
Consent? No. Well, I think we've already had this discussion, but the answer is no.
Okay.
But I'll stop you there.
Therefore,
I'll stop you there.
Okay.
I'll stop you there. I'll qualify my answer. Well, I'll add to my answer. I'm not qualified to have this discussion. This debate was thrown across my table more than once, and I brushed it off because I'm not qualified.
This is not a debate. Me asking you that question is nothing to do with debating.
I should even be
This is a layman's, like any layman
Mhm.
can answer that question and be accepted as a reasonable answer.
Some men are
Can
more lame than others.
an 8-year-old consent to sex? It's
Some-
not a debate. It's not really a high kind of philosophical question.
Some
To
more
be
men,
honest, it isn't.
some men are more lame than anything else than others. So.
So do you think that's a philosophical question?
No, I don't think it's a philosophical question. I think it's a very straightforward, simple question. But
So
what
why
are the
can't it get
implications?
for a simple answer?
That's a great question. Let me answer
Yeah,
that
what's the
question.
answer? What's the answer, Hassan? What's the answer?
You keep finishing your crisps or whatever you're eating in the background. So the reason I'm reluctant to answer that question is the implications of where the argument leads to, and then without the nuance and the cultural circumstances.
And this is the whole problem right there. This is what, unfortunately, is why the you guys get condemned a lot. Unfortunately, because it's unfortunate, and I almost kind of get it. But you have to understand that because you're so hesitant to answer very straight, as you've highlighted, a very straightforward question, it casts aspirations on your morality and on your conscience, because anyone else would say, "Oh, well, of course not. Of course, a child of 8 can't consent to sex." This would be a standard universal answer by 90% of the world's population, I believe. And I think that the fact that because of the implications for you and for your profit, the fact that you can't answer is why you're always going to be maligned by large parts of the world and for large parts of society, because then it starts to get into the realm of cognitive dissidence, of
why so?
brainwashing, because
I can answer it.
You kind of just admitted it there. You said that you can't answer, which you've admitted is a straightforward question. You've admitted that's a straightforward question with a straightforward answer.
Okay.
Hold on, let me finish my point. Then you said, I can't answer because if I answer, the implications of it could be problematic.
Okay.
And we know what those implications are. It's regarding your Prophet Muhammad.
Okay, cool. Let's go down that
I
path.
can answer it. I can answer it.
I think JM already did it, but I'll let you speak.
Like, if you guys want me to answer it, I can answer it. What was the question, JM?
The question was, can an 8-year-old consent to sex?
Oh, absolutely not. And to think that an 8-year-old consent to sex is actually is very concerning. An 8-year-old as a father, no, an 8-year-old cannot consent to sex. She's nowhere near, like, in terms of just being aware of herself, she's nowhere near that. She's a child. It cannot consent to sex. It's impossible. And any Christian out there, whether in the past or in the future, that thinks it's okay, or even believes in this, they are absolutely wrong, and they need to be locked up because they are grapists. That's what they are.
Okay. See, this is the problem, JM. It started off with answering the question simply, to moralizing, to you deserve prison for having this perspective. I'll tell you why that's an issue. Right? Okay, ask me the straightforward questions. We'll go from there, and then I'll present to you as best as I can why there is some disconnect that one could suggest cognitive dissonance, but it's not necessarily the case. And there may be issues that which leads to the opportunity for people to cast aspersions, as you said. So
That
ask me
would-
straightforward questions.
But the question is, can an 8-year-old consent to sex?
Not to my imagination, no. Not as far as I'm aware.
Okay, so what do we call non-consensual sex?
Oh, that's a good question. A grape, I guess.
Well, I mean, do I need to go on?
I'll tell you why you need to go on.
Oh,
Then your next
I will
question.
if you want me to.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
trying to save you, kind of.
I mean, I can ask the question for you, Jam. If you
I'd
want.
rather you didn't.
Okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, this is the thing. If I don't
mind you
Nelson,
asking.
Nelson, I'm more hesitant. Nelson will take that and run with it, and he's not wrong for doing that.
He
I'm
may
trying
be.
to be a
He may
little
be
bit. I'm
wrong.
trying to be a little bit more kind of, But
What would you
okay
hold
to
back
do that.
from, though, Jay? What would you hold back?
Should I
Sorry,
just
one
what?
second. One
Okay.
second, Octavio. I don't trust your intentions as far as because you didn't answer the question. You went on to make condemnations and ask for prison time for whatever. I don't know.
Who, me?
Yeah, you literally said you need to
Yeah,
make
for
prison
any
time.
Christian who believes that having sex with an 8-year-old, that an 8-year-old can consent to sex. You're absolutely right. Any Christian who believes that they should be locked up. Why? Because an 8-year-old cannot consent to sex. It's very simple.
Even
It
if,
is. It
okay,
is wrong.
let's go down that path, Octavio.
There
Even
would be
if there-
rapists. There would be rapists in my view, like that. How I would see it. I'm talking
fair
about me. I'm talking about me and my faith. I'm not even casting judgment. But if you want me to go there,
No, you're not casting judgment. I see what you're saying there. Well, it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
judgment, but it's kind of judgment. But I see where you're coming from. You've restrained yourself a little bit. So
I
even
try.
if, let's say, a 50-year-old man was married to an 8-year-old, and he engaged in intimate intercourse, whatever,
Yeah.
Rapist.
yes,
What if she's
100%.
9?
Yes.
right?
What
Yes.
about, no, JM. It's not for
Yeah.
you, if you don't mind. It's for Octavio.
Okay.
What if she's 10?
Yes.
What if she's 12?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the problem. One could argue from the Mosaic law, right? The average age of marriage is 13, 12, which Mary would have been the age that when she got married.
Mm-hmm.
And Joseph would have been a lot older than that, probably in his late 30s, 40s.
No, I don't. We don't know the exact ages.
Right. Okay. What if he was? Okay. I think there's some evidence to suggest that he was a lot older than her.
Mm-hmm.
Mosaic tradition or Jewish tradition at the time was a girl get married maybe 12, 13. And then
Yeah,
the man,
no, if you want to flip it to Christianity, I'm happy to do that. Any Christians that were doing that, they were obviously wrong. But what I love about historically Christian countries is the fact that the age of consent has risen. Now, what I don't like,
Nelson, I have to just chime in and just give you 5 seconds because you made a little
sure.
comment there about Mary. I just want to make it clear that even in the story of Mary,
Mhm.
If you're saying that she was married at 12, you do know that the marriage was not consummated. You know that, yeah? That she wasn't living with Joseph.
Okay.
So you can't really use that as an example.
Okay. I'll find some evidence to the contrary, and then I'll put it on the.
No. That's the account.
No.
She wasn't living with Joseph, and they didn't consummate the marriage.
If I found the evidence to the contrary, could I?
You can't.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. We're here
I'll
for
put
the
it in the
truth.
comments.
But the thing is,
So
what I'm
I
saying,
think that's the issue. So can I just round off my point, and then you can say whatever you want to say?
I was going to round out for my point.
Go on, then.
No, I was just going to say that historical Christian countries have basically, developed the idea, or the idea developed that they needed to increase. They realized the importance of increasing the age. What worries me about Islam, for example, is that Islam is trying to reduce the age rather than increase the age. So when we look at, for example, a good example is Iraq.
Sorry, I got it. Sorry, Octavio. I gotta interrupt you there.
Can I just finish the last point?
I'd rather you didn't. I'll tell you why. Because you use it just a double, just literally one word. You use the double. You said historically Christian countries raised the standard or raised the age of consent. I'm guessing to about 18, late teens, right? 18, 19.
That's not what I said.
Okay,
I said,
yeah.
gradually over
That's what you
um,
meant. Yeah, I understand
over a
that.
period of time.
Over the
When
years.
you look at, when you look at throughout history, we see the age of consent rising and to
In
what it is.
in in Christian countries, you said historically Christian countries,
Yes.
and then you said Islam. You didn't say Islamic countries. You said
When
Islam.
I look at when I look at Islamic countries, what I see is a push, and I
Okay.
was about to give the example of Iraq, who have now managed to lower the age to 9 years old.
Okay. So this is the problem. This may be the crux of the problem. It's Christians really misrepresenting. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe that's what issue people, because the age of consent or marriage at the time being that low, as far as I can tell, there's not many countries, but the Arabian Peninsula is one of them, right? That the age of consent is that low. I think that's the issue that people feel reluctant, because it's gives an opportunity. Maybe Christian countries that have a Christian background who will use this, who become secularized, who in the sense of the nations of secularism, who raise the age to the late teens and now pointing the finger at what would be a tradition that they've abandoned from their Christian tradition, because it's not true that Christian countries have raised the age to the late teens, or historically Christian countries. That's not true at all. It's an opportunity for maybe to victimize the Muslim countries and say, hey, you're underdeveloped, you're barbaric, when
Well,
it's really a guise of presenting secularism. I don't know, something along those lines. Because
can I comment on that statement there?
yeah, go ahead.
So where would you say the biggest? I mean, there's a reason behind it. Okay, we will talk about it another time. But where would you say the biggest advancements in medical knowledge is in the world? Which parts of the world?
Medical. Oh, okay. Probably North America.
So Western world, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess
So
North America, Western Europe.
Okay, so
I'm guessing. I could be wrong, by the way.
Well, I agree with that. I think most people would agree with that too.
They might be wrong though. So.
It's just a fact.
No, I think it's just a fact. Yeah, I agree. So
Well,
let's just I think it's important to highlight that the correlation between raising the age of sex and coinciding with the advancement in medical knowledge. I presented I presented to Darwood some studies which I don't know why he was trying to refute them.
Yeah.
These are medical studies from reputable national medical associations.
Journals, yeah.
Not journals, no. These are not journals. These are studies.
Medical journals. That's a medical term.
I'm just saying that these
it's not the Guardian. I'm talking about doctors' rights.
Recognized medical authorities. Just to use that.
Yeah.
Worldwide recognized about the dangers of young children engaging in.
You don't need to explain that to me, though. By the way.
I know. I'm listening for the audience as well. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So that the fact that they've made those developments and they've come to these conclusions is based on the medical research. They have the means to fully analyze the implications. Perhaps these are not available. Hold on, these are not available.
Sorry.
These may not be. This is not available in other less developed societies, which is why they make us. FGM is a perfect example of this.
Mm-hmm. FGM
is a horrible practice
that practice in Islamic countries.
That's not true.
That irreparably damages women. Okay.
Yeah.
It destroys a woman's private parts.
Yeah.
It destroys her psychologically. The same thing, actually, psychologically, medically.
It's horrific. Yeah.
Okay. Now, how do we know that in the West and it's a record? Because there's medical advancements. We can
medical research
and understand.
Yeah.
So why can't we apply this to child marriage?
Okay, so
the Western nations.
JM, you've emphasized.
Okay, fair enough. Go ahead.
Okay, two things. One, and just I'll respond to FGM. FGM is African or East African practice. It's not an Islamic practice. It was practiced before Islam. In fact, developed by the ancient Egyptians and those cultures that surrounding the the Nile River and such. The largest Muslim countries in the world, Indonesia, the Philippines, well, Indonesia and the Far East, and a lot of Arab countries, Persian or Arab countries don't practice this. So it's not an Islamic practice. And I'll put the details in the comment section later on, as a matter of fact. 2, if a person says, medically speaking, the later that you are as a woman, not later as a woman, the further away you are from the developmental periods of puberty, the further you are, meaning late teens, early 20s, the better it is for your health to get married. Suggesting scientifically that in your late teens, at the earliest, you should be engaged in sexual activity. And ideally in your early 20s and slightly beyond, and ideally in a marriage scenario, is the best option for you. There's nothing wrong with that.
But what's that got to do with young children having sex? What's that got to do with that?
Which leads to your argument suggesting, well, wouldn't it be a good thing to avoid child marriage? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's opposing it?
You're opposing it because
How can I oppose it?
because the religion that you believe in, the prophet that you believe in, engage in child marriage.
And
If he's the best example for all time, he's a standard.
where do you get this best example of all time? Can you quantify that for me? He rode a camel. Should I ride a camel? He lived in the desert. Should I live in the desert?
No, I'm talking about verses in the Quran and the Hadiths that talks about his moral character being comparable to none. That's how he is compared. That's that he's even praised in the Hadiths of someone with exceptional character, exceptional moral character. So if he is the best example for humanity for all time in terms of his moral character, do you agree that he has the best character in comparison to all humanity?
Yes.
Moral character, I mean.
What does moral character mean? Did he make the right decision at the right time? Yeah, sure.
All right, okay. So he has the best character. Is he someone that you would try to is Muhammad someone that the Muslims are called to impersonate?
No.
No?
Can I ask you a question?
Muslims are not called to behave like your Prophet Muhammad?
You said impersonate. There are certain parts of the Sunnah you take up, there's certain parts of the Sunnah you
All
don't take.
Muslims called to behave like
the question is yours. The question is yours. The answer is mine. You want me to say, hey, as a Muslim, you should be marrying an 8-year-old girl. No, I shouldn't. It's not my culture. It's not my practice. It's something practiced at the time in the Arabian Peninsula. It's something that he did.
Okay, in that case,
married Aisha. Sorry, 1 second. Married Aisha at 6, consummated the marriage at the age of 9. I'm not doing that. Why should I have to do that?
Okay, so why wouldn't you do that?
Although I gotta say, well, for cultural reasons, for the list of reasons JM has pointed out throughout this discussion, the blah blah blah, whatever, right? Medical reasons and so on and so on and so forth, psychological, all those reasons he put out. We already had a discussion.
So you would say, so
now then reasons, your question.
Hold on.
Am I over speaking?
For all those reasons that were mentioned, would you agree that what your Prophet Muhammad did was wrong?
Wrong in what sense? It's the cultural custom of the time. It's not something I would do. It's not something that I'm encouraged to do.
Reasons that he pointed out.
Did Aisha die?
No, she for example, one of the medical reasons that JM pointed out is that one of the consequences of having sex at that age, that early age, is that she will not have children, and Aisha did not have children. Can I just ask you, was he wrong medically speaking?
I'm not a medical doctor.
No. But we know because of the medical advancements that the West has made, we know the impact that it has on children on children, females as young as 9. So would you say that given the fact that she did not have children, would you say that Muhammad was wrong for marrying Aisha?
So two responses. Two responses to that one question. One, you say we know. Well, you're not medical doctors. You're not making medical opinion.
What's
any she's not here to make. Secondly, let me just respond. Again, the question's yours, the answer's mine. Secondly, I forget my second point. Would you say as well? I forget my second point now. JM interrupted me. That was my train of thought.
So medically speaking, you wouldn't say he was wrong.
I'm not a medical scientist. I'm not a medical doctor. What are you talking about?
What we're talking about here, I'm basically saying that I started off with, and this is again, I think Hassan is playing semantics again. I basically said Mohammed is supposed to be the best example, and if I had all the verses with me, I would have shown all the verses with me that Muslims do regard him as the best moral character ever, and they do regard him as someone to copy and follow and imitate. So, but he wanted to contest that. So I want to see if he's not willing to marry a 9-year-old himself, if he's not willing to do that because he believes that that's wrong. You believe that's wrong, right? You yourself marrying a 9-year-old. Is that why you wouldn't marry a 9-year-old? No, you did say because of all the examples that JM mentioned, for cultural reasons and all of that type of stuff and medical reasons and so on. So I asked, so medically speaking,
also makes me feel like, why would I do that?
Can I just finish? But medically speaking, we know that it's wrong now. So are you able to say then that since Muhammad, according to you, is not to be imitated and all of that, not everything apparently, are you willing to condemn Muhammad for doing something that we know now to be wrong? For example, sleeping with a 9-year-old, a grown man sleeping with a 9-year-old, knowing the implications, the medical consequences that would have had on a 9-year-old girl. Can you say now that he was wrong for what he did?
You asking me?
Yes.
You're not a medical doctor, so I will not condemn anyone.
I don't have to be a medical doctor.
You kind of do.
I can cite the studies. I can tell you that the studies say that this is that having a grown man having sex with a 9-year-old, these are the consequences, and it does damage them, and does the science is there. I'm not a medical doctor. You're absolutely right, but we know the sciences, we know the consequences, and so on. Are you willing to say that your prophet was wrong for doing what he did?
I require a medical doctor to comment on this.
Okay, so let me jump in, Nelson. So if I could provide you with medical doctors saying it's harmful to children to sleep with them at that type of age, then what would your response be then?
Oh, I think those doctors would be correct. It is detrimental to the health of a young girl. JM, could I finish? Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir. Who's losing their cool now?
Not us. I
don't think we're losing our cool. It's just like
I'm jibbering. I'm just jeering. I'm just poking at a bit of fun. Don't mean to question your temperament. But so your question being if medical doctors would point out the fact that a young girl, and I wouldn't use the word young woman, it's
whoa. What do you mean, young woman?
I said young girl. I wouldn't use the word young woman.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad.
Sorry, listen up. So so I said young girl twice. So it's detrimental to her health, and it is highly not recommended that any society establish child marriage as the norm. And sure, with the medical doctors, why would I question it?
So you would say that Muhammad is wrong then?
Why would I say Muhammad is wrong?
Okay, I this is what I think we need to establish, Nelson. When you say that medical doctors would conclude it's harmful for a child,
yes,
and you agree with that,
yes,
is this something that you would establish as a norm throughout history, or just in this period of history?
Oh, that's a good question. Throughout history.
Then you have to you have to answer Nelson's question with that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one answer you can give.
Oh, I would recommend not for it to be done throughout history. Is that your question? Is it?
No, answer the question again.
Okay,
Nelson.
No, it was you that asked the question.
No, Nelson's question.
I just want to make clear my answer. I would not recommend that it's done.
No,
dry.
no. So what was your question again regarding the prophet?
Yeah.
Would you condemn your prophet? That's what your question is.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you willing to say that Muhammad was wrong?
Why would I say that?
Because you've established that throughout history, it's wrong to sleep with a 9-year-old.
Generally
Medically
recommended
speaking.
for
Medically speaking.
speaking, it's something to be avoided. Yes.
Yes. So
Yeah, so why did Muhammad avoid it? And he was a very intelligent man, wasn't he? Did he have above average intelligence?
I would assume so. It's quite a difficult job.
So
to
why
do.
did he know that? Could he see the future? Hold on. Can you see the future?
See the future? No, only God sees the future.
So what special talents did he have above normal men?
Well, it was pretty. I would say it's pretty average, slightly above average height, slightly above average intelligence.
No, I mean in terms of his spiritual and intellect.
He knew only what Allah revealed to him, and that's pretty much it.
So Allah wouldn't reveal to him that the consequences of sleeping with a 9-year-old.
Well, this is a great question. The great question is, does Islam recommend that you sleep and keep rigid the laws of having marriage at the age of puberty, that a woman is ready for marriage at the age of puberty? No, it doesn't. It goes on to great details, the hadith and the sunnahs, pointing out that those who know, go to those who are known and qualified in a particular field. So if the medical doctors are saying, hey, it is clear to us now objectively using the scientific method that, as I said, the one who's in the process of puberty and has not completed puberty, which would be late teens and such, it's not best recommended that they get married, then yeah, we go with that trend.
So are you willing to say that Muhammad was wrong?
What did he do wrong?
Oh, hold on a second, Nelson. So when you talk about these doctors, medical doctors that will condemn a child of 9 for having sex, do you think it makes a difference to them if she's pubescent or prepubescent?
Oh, it's the human body. Now,
so they wouldn't qualify whether she's pubescent or prepubescent.
No, they wouldn't.
So why are you making this statement about?
I said later stages of puberty is recommended. I'm just interpreting the medical. I'm not a doctor. Whatever language they use, I'll be comfortable with. When I say later stages of puberty, what I mean to say is, and I qualified it, late teens, so 18, 19, because you got the development, you got early puberty, mid puberty, and late puberty. I assume the doctors would say it's better for a woman to get married after late puberty.
Yeah, so the Muslim, the Islamic doctrine or culture, whatever word you want to use, that just points to the fact that she's pubescent as the qualification for marriage is wrong, then, isn't it?
Oh no, this is the point. This is the critical point. It's not written in stone. Now, what medical science presents later on as being the optimal and the recommended is what would be considered optimal and recommended via the Sunnah.
But it's permitted, though.
If permitted, what sense?
To have sex with a pubescent child that's 9 years of age.
Now, again, there's the individual. Now, is it a sin upon a person for a person to marry, let's say, a 25-year-old man to marry a 12-year-old girl or whatever, and then consummate the marriage? Is it a sin? I don't know. I wouldn't. Maybe not. I'm not a scholar of Islam, so I wouldn't know if it would be considered sin. I don't think so. I don't think there's, considering Prophet Muhammad, early 50s, Aisha, 8 and 9 or whatever. So no. But as a society, what would the Sharia recommend? The Sharia would recommend is what you go inclined towards, what is knowledge and beneficial for the society. Now, I agree with you that the medical consensus globally, as it stands in 2025, with the medical advancements in research that we have all over the world and consensus, that is recommended that you marry for a woman in her late teens, after puberty is pretty much near its end, rather than early puberty. That would be what the Sharia would recommend.
Okay, so if that's what the Sharia recommends,
No.
1 second, Nelson. One question, please. If that's what the Sharia recommends, okay, you said late teens, okay?
No.
Why did Muhammad seek out a 6-year-old to marry? Because he approached the father.
Can you give me a hadith supporting that? Because I've read hadith opposing that.
Nelson has it.
I'll share it for you.
Okay.
Because that is critical. If you're saying that's the culture and that's the norm and that's the recommended.
While Octavio is looking for that, can I give you the names of the clerics that condemned the incident in Yemen?
Yeah.
Because you said clerics. So Sheikh Mohamad al-Hamzi, Imam of Al-Hamra Mosque, a member of the Islamic Islah Party, notably legal ban. So it is with danger. Yeah, so he's
Where is he based?
Yemen.
Okay.
Yeah, so clerics in Yemen. I'll put the list in the comment section. I need to write all this stuff down. There are, in answer to your question, there were people protesting in the streets, people questioning in vote in parliament, and on top of that, clerics came out and said this needs to be changed. Hope that answers your point.
But yeah, I mean, we still got to look at the problem. It's very problematic that a whole community allowed this to happen.
Bro, an entire country has lowered the age to 9.
Again, we're just pointing out, JM brought up the example of the Yemeni girl. It's still on the screen. The question was that people come out and condemned it, people protesting in the streets, people debating in parliament, and then clerics coming out to condemn it.
Yeah, this is not the majority. This is more minority.
If you keep moving the goalpost, then I don't know what I'm fishing for.
Oh, you have to let me speak first instead of interrupting every 2 seconds.
You can repeat
That's the truth. The truth is, no one's moving the goalpost. I just want to find out if Mohamad was wrong according to the medical advancements that we've made today. And this guy's a prophet, and his character is beyond people. So to me, it's hold on. This is Sahih al-Bukhari. Can you guys see it?
Nope. Okay, now we can.
Sahih al-Bukhari.
Can you bring it up, please? Big it up.
Yeah, I mean you can. I'll tell you what the Sahih thing is. It's 5081. 5081.
I can see Prophet Muhammad asked Abu Bakr Aisha hand in marriage. Abu Bakr said, "But I am your brother." The Prophet Muhammad said, "You are my brother in Allah's religion and His book." But she, Aisha said, is lawful for me to marry. One second. Bukhari. Reference. I've seen hadith in contrary to this. So what can we say?
Yeah, what can we say? I mean, this is like, oh god. So Muhammad, who's supposed to be the best moral character, the comparison to all humanity. You're telling me that he was not wrong, even though we now know that medically speaking, marrying a 9-year-old, marrying a 6-year-old, and having sex with her at 9 years of age. Even though we know that's bad for young girls, you're telling me that he was not wrong for doing that?
Is he recommending Muslims do it?
No, it doesn't. No, I'm not interested if he's recommending Muslims to do it, not do it to do it. I can't. I'm not even going to venture into that. I'm asking, was he wrong?
Well, I just need some qualifiers in response to your question.
Well, I've given you the qualifiers.
Sorry,
I've given you the qualifiers. I said. Medically speaking, we know that it's wrong. Yeah. Okay, we know that it harms the child. Okay, the female child. Okay, we know that. We know that to be a fact, medically speaking. And one of the consequences of it is them not having children, which is amazingly that's what happened to Aisha too. So
not necessarily.
Mohamad being great of great moral character. If you keep saying I'm not going to concentrate on what I'm saying. I know you're doing it on purpose. So Mohamad being this person of great moral character and so on, and him being a prophet, okay, who was in contact with the divine, because he received revelations from Angel Gabriel. I don't believe that to be the case, but that's the claim. So you're telling me this person who is in contact with the divine, who is the best moral character for humanity, you're telling me that you're telling me that he was not wrong, given what we know now, medically speaking, objectively speaking, you're telling me that he was not wrong for marrying Aisha at 9 years old.
Well, I would need a medical
Having sex
interpretation.
with 9 years old.
Yeah, I'd need a medical doctor to comment on this.
Okay, and if
Who
a
do they
medical
recommend?
doctor, was to tell you that, would you say that Muhammad was wrong?
Are you a medical doctor?
I'm not. I'm just
You
asking.
can't speak for a medical doctor, so your hypothetical is mute. Having said that, he was not recommending it for everyone. This is a cultural norm at the time. Mute point.
What do you mean is not recommending it for everyone? If he says this is lawful on the hadith.
Yes, things can change. For example, it is lawful to walk into a city until it is considered a contagion within that city. It is lawful to walk out of a city until it's considered a contagion within the city. There are circumstances, the Sunnah and the Sharia are stagnant, they're flexible, they are contemporary, and they are moral. They change as time goes on to suit what is best for the people at the time. It is not a 7th century religion. It is a religion that can adapt to the times as it comes. So when medical science as a consensus today says, do not get married at a young age. Do not get married in your early 20s. Sorry, you're like 8, 9, and 10 or whatever, and wait until your late teens, you're 18, 19, whatever, 20. Then we will incline towards that because something new has come. It doesn't mean we need to abandon religion. It just means that something we have grown in knowledge and we have become more aware and we now know how to behave. And the Sunnah does not reject you from doing that, nor does the Sharia.
All right. So
I think I've got to go now, guys. It's getting a bit late for me.
No. Just last question.
You know, I've got an early start. You know, I'm not lying.
Last question. No. Last question. 97% of the population in Iraq are Muslims, and the age has been lowered to 9. And we know, medically speaking, that it's wrong to marry a girl at 9 and having sex with her. Mm-hmm. So, are you willing to say that the Muslims in Iraq are wrong for what they've done?
Okay, so the Muslims in Iraq do not dictate what happens in government. That's one. It's the parliament. That's one. 2. Do I condemn the parliament? Can I answer your question, please? You know, I'm not running away. And you guys can be fair and admit, not you guys, it's a bit fair and jail, but you can admit, Octavio, I haven't run away. I've been here, answered questions in the way that favor, me, but I've been here and I've been asking questions. Can I not answer your question?
I want you to actually answer it.
I'm not gonna run away. Nobody's running away. Let me give you my answer, and then you tell me if you're happy with it or not. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. So the Iraqi people are not represented. Sorry, the Iraqi government isn't indicative of what every Iraqi person or the Muslims in Iraq, because a reasonable proportion are Christian, a reasonable proportion are Druze or whatever religion they have, and the government in Iraq is Shia, which is not representative of Islam at all, right? They invoke in other than Allah. So the Shia government, I wouldn't consider that to be an Islamic government, but that's a whole nother topic. Do I condemn, which is your question, the judgment by the Iraqi government to lower the age of 9? Yes.
You condemn it?
Yes.
You believe? Why do you condemn it? Because you believe it's wrong?
Specifically for the medical reasons that JM presented.
Okay. Now, I have not presented you any medical doctor. I have not presented you a doctor to say that this is thing, and you managed to condemn the Iraqi people. Can you now condemn your prophet?
Why? Why?
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for the answer.
You've been waiting for a long time.
Come on, Hassan, man. Hassan, this is really bad, bro. You told me one of the requirements was for me to present a doctor.
Yes.
That was one of your requirements, right?
Yes.
You said you need a doctor. You're not a doctor, Octavio. You're not a doctor, so you cannot blah, blah, blah. But you did not require a doctor in order to condemn Iraq for lowering the age of consent. So I'm asking you, well, they're not doing anything different from your prophet. So why is it that you can't condemn your prophet now?
You see, when you say they're not doing, what do you mean they? You talk about the government?
No, I'm talking about the government. The government has lowered the age of consent. Am I correct? Yes, they have.
Yes.
They,
Yeah.
they lowered it to 9 years old. Okay.
Yes.
Your prophet engaged in sexual activity with Aisha at 9 years old. Correct? Okay. So
Yes.
if that's if we and if we know that medically it's wrong,
Yeah.
okay, and you're able without a doctor to condemn Iraq, why is it that you're not able to condemn your prophet Muhammad?
Because, can I answer your question?
So I haven't even finished it. Why are you not able to condemn or say that your prophet Muhammad was wrong for marrying Aisha at such a young age, knowing what we know now, medically speaking?
Are you done now?
Yep.
Cool. So you bridged the two unnecessarily. The Iraqi government and the actions of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The Iraqi government is taking a jama'ah, waffling. Thank you very much. Thank you. You're running. Get lost, proud kuffar, proud disbeliever, big time running. Now, the Iraqi government has no moral justification for making that general jama'ah. The Prophet Muhammad didn't do that. Like I said, sorry, he didn't say, what's his? That was an awesome question. Relax. The Prophet Muhammad didn't say everybody get married to a young girl. Everybody do it. Everybody. No, he never said that. That's an action that he took because of the cultural norms at the time. The general Jama'ah is go with those who are in. No, it's literally a verse in the Quran. Go to those who know, meaning those who are qualified. So if you want to know about medical issues, you go to a medical doctor. You want to know about astronomy, you go to an astronomer. So on and so on and so forth. And their consensus is upon the truth. The consensus here of the Iraqi government, they have no medical staff or qualified medical staff that come to this conclusion. Because as far as I'm aware, from what little I know, the general global consensus from the medical community is get married later in life in terms of your late teens rather than your early teens or anything younger. Because that's the best medical path to take with the least consequences.
Okay. That you didn't really answer my question there, but I'm just gonna this is my final say before we start giving our final thoughts. The Prophet asked Abu Bakr for Aisha's hand in marriage. Abu Bakr said, "But I am your brother." The Prophet said, "You are my brother in Allah's religion and his book, but she, Aisha, is lawful. Lawful, he used the word lawful for me to marry." Okay, so would you agree that what he was talking about was something that he permitted, for other people to, do because it's lawful? Why was it lawful for him to do it, knowing that why was it lawful? That's what I want to ask. Why was it lawful? Are you still there?
I thought it was your final thoughts, bro. I'm exhausted. I'll be honest with you. I feel like
No worries,
I don't
bro.
know if JM has fallen asleep. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, let's do it. Let's give our final thoughts, man. Oh my days, this is amazing. Shouts to Jake Planner. Proud you were there, bro, with the comments. Peter just joined in. Sorry, Peter, we are done. She was a 9-year-old child. Doesn't matter how you try to justify it. Okay, I'm not gonna read all of that. We had enough of that. But anyways, guys, appreciate you guys for everything. But yeah, we had a gotcha there.
JM, no, we didn't get a gotcha.
Shouts to JM, shouts to Hassan.
Shout out to everyone.
We good. Final thoughts or?
Yeah, final thoughts, man. Let's give our final thoughts.
Yeah. So this is who wants to go first? Yeah, let you guys go first. Actually.
No, go ahead. You started. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is why I avoid this topic, because not because there's a level of shame or shyness or I'm trying to what's the word advocate or what's that?
Run.
I'm not trying to run. I hope you guys would be gracious enough to give me the honor of pointing out how noble and courageous and honorable and wonderful I've been to attend this
You
shit
were,
show
you were,
thing.
you were.
Yeah, right. But it's knowledge is important, and unfortunately, I'm not knowledgeable enough, and I've tried my best, but there's a lot to learn on the topic, and it's a very interesting topic to those who are on the opposing side. But importantly, I didn't get emotional, and I didn't take it personally, and I think this is an important factor in entering into these discussions. Because as long as we're not judgmental, and there may have been leaps here and there to jump to being judgmental, and it's a delicate dance to dance, right? Trying to get an honest answer from someone, and not trying to agitate them. On top of that, to respond by not being irritated or frustrated with the person just asking quite a blunt question. I think we can all come together and ask these difficult questions if we respect each other's points of view, respect each other as individuals. That's very important, because these topics don't go anywhere and people don't get answers and can't get the truth and really have the discussion if we don't respect each other. And I think it's great. I appreciate you guys for not being disrespectful, for being fair, not trying to trap me, just being very direct. I've got to admit, on the other hand, being very direct and really being very precise with your questions and trying to get to an objective point. Yeah, I think overall this has been a successful discussion. Yeah, I'll end it there.
Go ahead, Jam. Go ahead, Jam.
Yeah, I just think that it was kind of. I think it's clear that regarding the debate, I think that the brother Dawood made some fundamental errors, and I think that it's been capitalized on. And as I said before, when you step in this arena of debating online, which is public, and you put yourself in that arena, you have to be prepared for the consequences of it. If you don't want to have your words used against you, then don't engage. And unfortunately, this is what happened. The words were used against him. These are words that he voluntarily said. No one forced him or coerced him or tricked him into saying it. And it's unfortunate that he's taken offense and not engaged any further, because I do think it's unfair that Nelson has been targeted as some type of as being wrong or misinterpreting someone's word or slandering someone, when nothing could be further from the truth. All Nelson has done is literally highlighted a man's words and used it as evidence to support something that Nelson believes. And you can't fault a man for doing that, particularly a man coming from a very strong religious persuasion that has made it crystal clear about what his views are with regards to Islam. I mean, what do you expect is going to happen? So yeah, I think that's really my final thoughts on it, to be honest.
Before I address Dawood, I'm going to start with something that Hassan said. Knowledge is important, and we have the knowledge. Medically speaking, we've managed to discover that it is harmful for a grown man, for a 50-year-old man to have sex with. So I'm getting some noise in the background. We've managed to discover that it is wrong. It is harmful for a 50-year-old man, a grown man, to have sex with a 9-year-old. Now, Hassan, he qualified it by saying, well, you have to be a doctor. I have to hear that from the doctor, even though he agrees with the studies, even though he knows that this is what the study says. But he said to me, apparently, when I asked him, well, is your prophet wrong for doing what he did when he had sex with Aisha? He said, well, you're not a doctor. You're not a doctor, so I'm not going to listen to you, and so on and so forth, even though he understands what the medical studies are. So I asked him the same question about Iraq, and I said, well, is the government of Iraq wrong for lowering the age to 9? And he said yes, and then he even cited all the medical information that we have to prove that they were wrong. So then I asked him, well, so how come you didn't ask me? He didn't say, well, I need the doctor first. So he was able to condemn Iraq, but he couldn't condemn the Prophet. And what was I trying to prove there? I was trying to prove that he's never going to condemn his Prophet, because he believes that his Prophet is the best example for mankind, for humanity. That's what he truly and honestly believes in, even though he was tap dancing around it. That all of that was for show. He knows that that's the case. That's why he can't condemn it. And I caught him on it. And now so there's another clip coming up right after this. Now, Mr. Dawood, hopefully I've proven that I am not, I wasn't trying to disrespect or misrepresent Dawood. I think it's been quite evident that I wasn't trying to do that. All throughout the debate, we broke down the entire reaction, and we've established, we're all in agreement that I wasn't trying to misrepresent Dawood. I didn't put words in his mouth. Everything that he said came out of his mouth. Okay. So, and I'm sorry he lost the debate. I'm sorry he contradicted himself all over the place. I am sorry about that. Okay, but that's not a reason for you to be upset with me over that, or upset with the podcast. It's like, no one's trying. And if you really felt that seriously about it, you could have spoken to me directly, or you could have just called me before the debate and said, look, bro, these are my terms, and then I would have considered it. But anyways, apart from that, I think we've established that Mohammed is wrong, he was wrong for what he did, and he is not the best example for mankind, and we should not follow Islam, and Christianity is the truth. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for everyone that has interacted. J Planet Proud, everyone watching, Peter, and everyone. I know that would you're listening to this. So shout outs to you as well. And shout outs to
one thing?
No. No. Go ahead.
Literally one line. I'd like to formally and politely request that I don't get clipped. I'd rather people hear the full context of my words.
What are you afraid of? I'll make the clip and I'll send it to you private. I'll send it in the chat just to just to prove it to you. But yeah, guys. Anyways, everyone, take care. Thank you so much for joining us in Solution Podcast. Thanks to JM for joining us and Hassan for joining us. Appreciate you guys. Take care. Peace.
Take care, people.